When you're in a relationship with somebody, there will come times when you have reason to suspect something just doesn't sound right. And the biggest concern is that you're being lied to because they're cheating on you. So that's what we're going to mainly focus on here. Now, over the years, I have had to deal with in my dating experience, not just in the Philippines, but most especially in the Philippines, with women who turned out to be cheating, and there were certain ways I could get at the truth of it. So I'm going to share these things that I've learned over the years, 5 things you can do to better figure out if you're being lied to. And like I said, usually in the Philippines, if you're being lied to, it's to cover up cheating, or in some cases, theft. In my experience, I've not really had any problems with women stealing from me, but I have caught several who were cheating. So let's look at the 5 things you can do to get to the bottom of things. The first one is what usually brings up your suspicion to begin with, and it's that you notice either her actions or her response to a question does not align with the facts. It does not align with what a normal, ordinary, reasonable action or answer would be. Basically, they're blowing smoke at you. What they're saying makes no sense. And keep in mind, when you're doing a long-distance relationship from 7,000 or so miles away, it's very hard to verify anything that they may say, which is why I highly discourage people, do not meet a Filipina for 2 weeks on vacation and then start a long-distance relationship. You really have no guarantee that she isn't cheating on you, because in that situation, it's so easy for her to hide what she's doing. So getting back to responses that don't make sense. You may have been trying to get hold of her for 15 hours. And normally, you're in touch every couple hours during waking periods, but all of a sudden, you can't get hold of her for 15, 16, 18 hours. And when you ask them, well, why didn't you respond to my text? Why didn't you answer when I voice called you and made your phone ring? Why didn't you answer? What's going on? And it's important to ask the question as a question, not as an accusation. So when you get a response like, oh, I was asleep, you have to stop and ask yourself and ask them, so you sent me a message yesterday, good night, I'm going to sleep. It was 10 p.m. in the Philippines, and now it's been almost 24 hours, and you slept, you claim, for 19 of those hours? You slept a full 8 hours and then went right back to sleep for the last 12 hours I've been trying to reach you? Is that what you're telling me? And I've had a Filipina say, yeah. You know, so when responses don't align with common sense, you need to call them on it. Work on the assumption that they're telling you the truth, and then follow up. Like I said, oh, okay, so you slept 8 hours, you're telling me you got up maybe, went to the restroom, then you went back to sleep. You've been sleeping now for the last 14 hours, so that's 14 and 8, that's 22 hours that you've been asleep. That's why you didn't answer the phone. Now, the second thing is inconsistency, where they keep changing their story. So in this example, when you ask them, so you've been sleeping for the last 22 hours? When they realize, okay, that's not a very good answer, they blew it. They gave a lie that's really not believable. The second thing to look for is this inconsistency. When you follow up and then they start changing their story and they say, oh, well, no, I wasn't really sleeping the whole time. I woke up and then I went to my sister's and my phone wasn't charged, and so I couldn't respond to you. So then you ask them, oh, okay, so when did you go to your sister's? What time? How long did you stay there? And if they say, well, I just went for lunch and then I went to the store or I came home, whatever, it's like, okay, and at no time you thought to charge your phone? And then they change their story again. Well, I would have charged my phone, but I forgot it at the house. And so as they keep changing their story or modifying it as you dig into it, that's another clue that you're being lied to. The third thing to look for is when you keep getting vague answers. In the previous two examples, they're giving a very specific answer. It's just not a good one. But I've had a situation where I couldn't get hold of a previous girlfriend, and I said, well, where are you? Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you like since 8 o'clock and it's already 1 in the morning. Where are you? I tried calling your Filipino roommate and they're not answering. So where you been? And the answer I got was, oh, I was out. Well, out where? Where have you been for 5 hours until 1 or 2 in the morning? Oh, at the beach. I go, where are you now? It's still at the beach. And I said, so you're at the beach at 1:30 in the morning by yourself for 5 hours. Oh, well, I needed time to think. I go, you couldn't think at your apartment? You needed 5 hours at the beach? And meanwhile, I hear cars passing by in the background. And I said, well, you just said you're still at the beach. None of the beaches are near a main road. I keep hearing cars every few seconds pass by. Sounds like you're in town. She goes, no, I'm in the beach and it's just drug dealers. They actually said, no, it must be just drug dealers. And so I called her on it and I said, there's that many drug dealers at the beach at 1 o'clock in the morning? Is that what you're telling me? So then the response I got was, well, I'll just go home right now since you're getting so suspicious. So then what happens is they start changing the subject to anything, even if it means accusing you of something. They want to get off this line of questioning that you're digging into their answers. They want to get off of that track and change over the subject to anything else. Even if it means starting an argument, they don't want to answer these questions, because they know they're unprepared for their lie and their answers are sounding worse and worse the more you dig into it. That leads to the fourth sign that you're being lied to is you're having a normal conversation and asking very normal questions in a very normal tone of voice, and they respond with an angry overreaction. Now, the alternative to this is the depressed overreaction. So the angry overreaction would be, well, what? You don't trust me? Why are you asking me questions? Are you accusing me of something? Do you have proof of anything? They get angry. But the other side that I've gotten from this whole thing of overreaction to a normal conversation is they swing the other way, where they start crying and, oh, I'm so hurt and I couldn't believe that you would question me and I love you so much and how could you possibly think that I would cheat on you? And it's like, nobody said you cheated on me. I was just asking you where you were. So they may take the angry route. They may take the oversensitive, I'm hurt route. But either one is an overreaction to a normal conversation. Normal people don't do that. Think of it in reverse. If you're having a normal conversation and she asks you, so where were you today? And you go, well, I went down to the mall and ran into this expat. We ended up having coffee and then I got some groceries and then I went back home. See, that's a normal response. And even if she questions it and says, well, who's the foreigner that you had coffee with? Oh, it's Bob Jones or whoever. In fact, tell you what, if you want to ask him, here's his Facebook. Go ahead, send him a message, ask him if we had coffee today. That's the normal response of an innocent person. Innocent people do not get angry or, have an emotionally sad response and depression just from a normal conversation. The final fifth method of weeding out a liar is probably the most effective, and it is this. When you're looking at the reaction or behavior they're giving you in response to your questions, when you're hearing what they're saying, ask yourself the question, is this what an innocent woman in love would do or say? Is this how a woman in love would respond to a question? I'll give you, again, another perfectly good example. You ask a woman, hey, I noticed that you got a bunch of likes between you and this one particular expat. What's up with that? How come you put so many likes on his picture and he puts a lot of likes on your picture? What's up with that? Now, her first response is going to be something like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. I put likes on a lot of people's pictures. And so you ask them, and we're going through kind of like the 5 steps here. Oh, so do you know this person? Have you ever met them in person? Oh, no, I just know them from Instagram, or I just know them from Facebook. I've never met them. And you're like, you're sure you've never met them ever before? Oh, no. So then later you go to that guy's Facebook or Instagram, whatever, and there's a picture of the two of them together from a year ago, or maybe even a month ago. So you ask her, oh, well, you said you never met this guy, but what about this photo of the two of you together? And then she says something like, oh, well, that's in my past. Now, there's a complete logical disconnect here, because she already told you she didn't ever meet this guy in person. But now that you have proof that she's lying, she doesn't acknowledge that she lied. She switches the conversation over to, you need to disregard that evidence because it's in the past. Well, newsflash, everything is in the past. What happened 30 seconds ago is in the past. But that does not excuse lying about whether she'd ever known this guy. So then you call her on it and say, well, you told me you never met this guy. Obviously you met him. Where did you meet him? And she says, like, well, it's just some guy I met on Tinder and dated a few times. And now, if you hadn't brought it up, I wouldn't have had to lie. Okay, that brings up another issue. Listen to what she's saying. If you hadn't brought it up, I wouldn't have had to lie. So whose fault is it that she lied? It's your fault. She's taking no accountability. She's basically saying, the only reason I lied is because you made me lie. No, you lied to cover up that you knew this guy when I asked you about him. So then, if they decide to take the angry overreaction route, they may then tell you, well then fine, let's just break up. We're done. And you'll notice many times, here's another little kind of clue. If you're talking to them on a voice call and they hang up and now they only want to carry on the conversation through text, that's another sign that they are not confident they can sell more lies to you without being caught. So they want to have that lag time in the text, and their voice inflection won't give them away if they're just texting. So at this point is when you have to employ tactic number 5, which is, as I said, their actions and speech do not align with what a woman in love would do. A woman in love wants to maintain and keep the relationship. When the response you get from a Filipina is, okay, fine then, we're done. You think I'm cheating? Then forget you. We're done. That's not what a woman in love does. Again, turn it around 180 degrees. If she was suspicious of you and you were innocent, you would be transparent and go, okay, well, let's talk about this. You've got questions, you've got suspicions. Okay, well, let's talk about this and let's go ahead and get this in the open. You got questions? Ask me and I'll answer. They would, you'd want to work it out. So when they all of a sudden get so offended that they want to call it quits, you're not talking to a woman that's in love with you trying to maintain and keep the relationship. You're talking to a woman who has gotten cornered, cold busted, and because she can't come up with enough new lies to cover herself, she's ready to throw in the towel. That is not what a woman in love does in response to a simple, ordinary question. So to recap, the 5 things are: number 1, her responses do not align with common reasoning or facts. Number 2, she gives inconsistent answers and changes her story as she goes along. Number 3, she gives vague answers that she hopes you'll settle for and then tries to quickly change the subject. Number 4, she has an angry reaction to a normal question, or she gets the highly offended, bursting into tears overreaction to a normal question, which is a diversion. And number 5, her actions and her speech do not align with what a woman in love would do. So I hope that helps you as you deal with your relationships, either in person or most especially in a long distance relationship, which again, I highly discourage you from getting sucked into that. It's different if you've had 6 months to a year building a foundation in person and then you do a long distance relationship for whatever reason, because you've already built a foundation of trust in person. You know their character. But to just know somebody for a week or two and then try to build a relationship from 7,000 or so miles away, there is so much that can happen when they are not online and you can't see what they're doing. But at least if you employ these 5 different observations, even from far away, you can start weeding them out, getting them kind of painted into a corner according to their own answers, to where either they will be transparent, contrite, and be willing to try and work it out, or they're going to fight you on it because now they know they've got nowhere to hide. Love to hear your thoughts and comments on that.